She don't like my empty whiskey bottles.
For me, asking Billy, the one thing is he and I have we've known each other for a long time, and we have a trust there, and so I love the chance to reframe somebody. Like, Billy is a piece of art. He is a classic piece of art, and just putting that in a different frame and in a different location, so to speak, musically, makes for such wonderful surprises. Because he was the first person where I said, "Hear this loop?" He was outside looking out, like just taking in the vista, and he's like, "Oh man." He's just got this infectious spirit about him. He never says, like, "I hate Gary." He always says, "There's a guy who's got the most amazing hot sauce." And so he's only sort of constantly engaging with what he likes. And when he heard that loop, he was saying to me, "Oh, you should sing." And I was like, "Not me, you." And he sang that vocal just over the loop, hearing nothing else. I love the idea of, I keep saying, I have this vision of a gypsy march. There's songs all along the Desert Sessions every once in a while where it's like, and I love the sort of crippled factory-like march of that. I love the drama that sort of, it's visual to me too. They crest the horizon and you're like, Jesus, let's get out of here. What the hell is that? And I just love the drama of that. And that was Stella and Carla meeting each other. We spent a lot of time on the details of that song because it felt like, which is much different than the other Desert Sessions. There's less songs on this, but they all get this extreme detail work, because it became clear that for a song like this, it never returns back to, it goes back to this loop, but each part that's loud, you think it's going to happen and you don't. But also it feels comfortable. To me, it doesn't feel like you get lost, I feel like my job is, I asked everyone to come here, and regardless of if you've had a conversation about what it's like, you need to set a tone in reality, what it actually is, and words just won't do. So it's important that I would always have the first piece of marble that we'll sculpt together, and essentially just take a step forward and then hope that everyone walks past me and keeps walking. That's the way I envision that. And then I sort of walk behind in a way, cleaning up in a way, and go, oh, well, it feels a bit like a tour guide deep into the heart of Bizarre, So I had that first, and it was not the greatest choice for a first thing, because it's just supposed to, what if you had a song and you took two other songs and just injected them in there? Are you allowed to do that? Is that okay? Which is a bit of an experiment, but by the time you've done it, now it needs to work, or you've made a big mistake. And so after we'd kind of recorded that one and got the first one underway, I sort of realized, like, oh God, that experiment has to work, Those first few songs on any situation like this need to express they need to sort of articulate the absence of the box. There's no box we're playing in. We're just, anything actually goes. And as long as you like something, it really doesn't matter how far afield it's coming from. If you sort of believe, if we put together our likes, it'll sound great. And don't worry about it so much. And I think those first three songs sort of do a good job of articulating a world that really doesn't have a box that we're playing in. There's a certain joy to doing something that doesn't have to be sung over, that sings itself. And it's very landscapey.
Yeah.
Like if something gives you a lot of visual and as my friend says, Vujade, it reminds you of a place you've never been. Yeah, and really just, I brought my kid's drum set because it sounds so good at home. And I put it outside by the fireplace. And Carla just sat down and started playing that. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, on drums it was so vocalized just alone, And it's a good example of something, if you don't try to stop ideas, you just follow them, because I think that song is quite sweet. It's quite sweet.
Hang tight, as you're running through the moonlight, waiting on her charms. Deep sky.
At a distance, I think what's important too is that someone like Billy or Mike or Carla or Matt Sweeney, who've been involved with so much stuff, also meet somebody that has never done anything. Libby Grace is I've known her for so long, and I've always known she had this amazing voice. She writes these infectious songs, but she's never done anything. I said, how you doing? Because she has this incredible poker face. Incredible, because I said, are you enjoying yourself or do you hate this? I really cannot tell. And she said, I am freaking out. And I said, I can't tell. For whatever it's worth, I can't tell. But also she was completely ready. I mean, she had the initial building blocks of this tune that sort of, I don't know, it almost sounded like a campfire warning for some reason, like a cautionary tale. And I said, she's kind of a country western in a very traditional sense, like Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard, almost like outlaw country.
Oh, yeah.
Tammy Wynette, and so I said we should really destroy the notion of what country should sound like, because that's just a perfect example of desert sessions where you say, wow, this is really beautiful, and you take a hammer and smash it with the mind to take the best piece and shove it into something else.
Feeling high and tight, caught out in the light.
Well, I think what was great is that musically, Matt Sweeney had this kind of move and groove thing, and it felt like we needed something that moved. And, Mike and I both were raised very religiously, too. And so we have a lot in common there. And that foundation, and I think it makes for an interesting sort of discussion. And then you have Jake, who is also dealt and raised in a very strange community on an island in the Puget Sound, and in the middle of nowhere, and just dealing with everything that he's had to deal with too, and coming out of all that sort of like ta-da, the way Jake does. And it was just a great pairing, those two together. And so Mike just seemed like a no-brainer, because he's not playing anything, he's just singing. And his voice I love too. It's quite feminine and sweet. It just has a great tonality to it, and I love that about his voice. It's like elegant to me.
I realized at this point I made a terrible mistake.
Chic tweets. There's something really interesting that happened, because Matt, it was one of the few things done here because he was just in town, and I was like, let's not go out anywhere. I'm working on doing these mixes, and let's just hang out over here and talk, and we'll order dinner in. It's like sort of dinner and a movie, snugly for me and Brother Barry. Yeah. And then I asked Stella to come by, and I thought honestly that he knew that guy turns Matt. I thought he was with Matt, but honestly I think that's not correct. Well, because it was just a weird person, you know, like a strange person that was different than any person I knew. And when Matt came over, Turnst was there too, and I think there was confusion, although Stella ended up knowing Turnst, and so nobody comes here unless they know where to go, and everyone came at the same time, so I thought Turnst was friends with Matt. I think, and he may have been, I mean, but because he was asking me about Turnst too, I was what came of it was so bizarre that it's one of the strangest things I've been around, and it was just perfect because I call songs like that a smart bomb. You know, everything's normal and just someone like drops a smoke bomb that has stink in it, and it was so childish. And Turnst was so serious, and so I just sort of went with it, you know, and yeah. Actually, I should really call Matt.
Oh, my imagination gets best of me.
I guess there's no other way to say this. I kind of drank too much one of the nights as it passed 10:30, and Mike said, I have an idea, and it was the chord structure for that. And I said, I'm gonna go up to the other house where, you know, and I just went up there and passed out. And they recorded this tune. And I think Jake in particular as well was trying to, he had just gotten there, and he was having those nerves that you were talking about, whereas, how do I fit into this? This seems daunting, I should go, right? That's the first in that fight or flight creatively. It's the same as any other fight or flight. And what I love is that he and Mike, and I guess Sweeney as well, but mainly him and Mike really got together, and Jake had said to me the next morning, I really thought I can't go, I have to really stay as hard as I can, you know? And when I heard the building blocks of all that the next morning, I thought, oh my God, it's beautiful. Because it's almost like a single from another time. It's and also lyrically it took this position of that I haven't heard in rock and roll music, of just some of the loneliness and alienation associated with, you know, being a gay man in the world. It was really cool to me. I just felt like there's something you don't hear about with that sort of honesty every day. And so I thought, this is exactly why I would want to do this stuff, is to just so much of the time you're shedding light on something that has been lit for so long, and every once in a while you move that light and you go, oh, hello, and to unearth something that doesn't often get its due feels exciting, you know.
Aimlessly traipsing the Garden of Eden, hitchhiking hand is all thumbs.
I've just been toying with that, and I don't play piano well, and also I'm not good at it, so it was fun to sit next to Mike add these little things that my fingers won't do. And Mike is such an easy collaborator, you know. It's just that shorthand is so quick with he and I. You know, initially I was gonna ask someone else to sing this, but also in those moments, I think it was Sweeney and Mike were kind of like, why have somebody else do? I think I naturally want to try to pull myself off in these situations, but also I'm glad that they just said, you're singing a guide vocal for someone else to learn to sing, just do it, you know, because after that happened, it felt like, oh, this makes sense, this is something I would say, you know, and there's a lot of little lyrical explosions in there that are exciting for me, because they make you, just what's said and how it gets said, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, I'm really gonna say this, and I feel like that's the right, if I'm asking myself that question, that's the right spot to be. And also the emptiness, because of how it sounded just with piano and what Carla did, like she was rolling a brush, like, you know, playing this part and taking a brush on a snare. It was so, if that's all that's going on is piano and that, it almost sounded broken and modern. Like, here's a brand new computer that doesn't work right. I love the idea of something that's slightly broken that continues to work anyways and finds its place, despite being broken, you know. And so it was so empty. You could put bass and guitars all over it, but I feel like it would have just ruined the emptiness, you know. It seems more powerful with nothing going on. And Mike played some great piano, and yeah. Well, you know, I think there's an illusion that you go to the des and then you get a stone and you feel just jam, but because you're sort of moving at the speed of inspiration, a lot of times, you know, that stuff really gets in the way, and because you're in an environment you're not accustomed to, and that you haven't been in previously. It's the desert, so as the night goes on, of course there's wine flowing and all that stuff like that, but I think what's interesting is, because that environment is so contrary to what you're used to, most of the time is spent in the fascination for this new environment, and where you start saying, oh, you know, you take advantage of that moment, and then towards the end of the night you soak that in wine.